In today's Leeds news, career moment for Meslier. Cooper says goodbye. Cresswell and Gelhardt futures, and Cresswell involved in car collision. Morning folks, Jay here. Friday morning the 17th of May. One game away from a return to the Premier League for Leeds United. A fantastic performance last night. There will be a review tonight that I'm going to do later on as a live stream. You can check that out about 7 o'clock tonight if you want to check that out. It could be a bit earlier. And we'll go through the game in a bit more detail, but just a fantastic night at Ellen Road. It seemed, for those that were at the game, it seemed to have been an incredible atmosphere from start to finish. And every single player, I think, to a man, stood up and put in a performance last night that was needed after the end of the season. But Leeds looked very much more like their old selves, getting back into the form that got us in contention for the automatic spots in the first place. And now hopefully putting Leeds in a position where we can carry that momentum into the final and hopefully get a win in Wembley and break the hoodoo. We finally won a game at Ellen Road in the playoffs. 1 out of 5 now, so that's great, or 6 now, so that's been broken. Fingers crossed. But there's a little bit of news to get into. We'll talk about this and we'll talk about the game later on tonight in a live stream. You can check that out later. And we'll start off with a career moment for Illan Meslier. There were a lot of standout performances, as I said last night in the game, but one moment was singled out for praise by manager Daniel Farke and former Leeds United manager Simon Grayson. Illan Meslier has been repeatedly called out for criticism by a portion of the fan base all season. He has had moments where he is deserved, but he has also had some very high moments as well. His saves against Leicester and both matches as well. Saves that kept Leeds in the game, and last night he did it again. At 2-0 down, Josh Sargent runs straight through on goal after an uncharacteristic error from Ethan Ampadu gave him a clean view of the goal, and a fantastic one-handed save from Illan Meslier kept the game at 2-0. Former Leeds manager Simon Grayson, speaking to BBC, had the following to say about the incident. The biggest credit you can give is to the goalkeeper. At 2-0, the game is back on for Norwich. The crowd will become a little bit more anxious, and that is one of the biggest saves that kid will make in his career, I'm telling you. It was a huge moment. It would have put it back at 2-1. It would have made it a bit more edgy. It would have got the Norwich City fans' voices going. And it might have been a very different game had that not happened. But that's his job. He's there to make those big saves in those moments. And it was a terrific save last night. He made one in the second half as well. That was just as good, but the game was slightly further ahead. Meslier got his 21st clean sheet of the season last night, on top of winning the regular season Golden Glove Award for the most amount of clean sheets in a season. Daniel Farke spoke about the incident as well, and he basically said that it was a world-class save and all the credit goes to the keeper. You expect your keepers to make big saves in big moments, and at least you hope they do. You look at Oscar against Spurs when he made that fantastic save against Son, running through one-on-one. Possibly wins the league for Man City. Last night Leeds into that moment just to take the edge off, to keep that clean sheet. 2 clean sheets back to back now for Leeds, back to that form that we had just after Christmas, and a really strong foundation going into what will likely be a final against Southampton, and a team that seemed to have had the better of us this season. But Leeds will need to adapt and fix that one. But moving on to a player who may have said his goodbye to the home crowd last night, and that's Liam Cooper. As we all know, Liam Cooper's contract expires with Leeds in the coming weeks, and the captain himself did say recently at the club awards night that he would like to stay on at the club. Last night in the club programme, in his notes section, Cooper appeared to all but confirm his exit from the club. In the notes, Cooper simply said, "It's been a pleasure." Cooper will end 10 years at the club, and through the good spells and the bad spells, he has always been a fantastic captain and leader for Leeds, and has very much always put the side before self. Love him or hate him, there have been continuous managers that have made him club captain, and continuous squads of players who have voted for him to be the captain, and you can't really argue with those people who are around him more often than we are and who know him best. In the club notes, Cooper said the following: "As I have always said many times previously, not only playing for Leeds but captaining this amazing club is a huge honour, one which I never take for granted. It has been a pleasure leading this group of players this season, and naturally I want nothing more than for this campaign to finish in the way we all dream of." He's been a fantastic servant for Leeds. People talk about loyalty in football. Cooper's given that. He could have walked away to Saudi for £4 million a year at the start of the season, but wanted to stay with Leeds and help to fix the issues. We've talked about the exile players who walked away from Leeds this summer. Cooper had options to go and decided not to. He stayed, Firpo stayed, a couple have stayed to try and fix the issues while others walked away, and for me that loyalty should be repaid, and it's great to see Liam Cooper get on the pitch last night and actually get to say a proper goodbye and fix probably a moment that is still stuck in his head from when him and Kika Casilla collided in the derby game and the semi-final playoff at home as well. Getting to exercise the ghost of that as well would be a big moment for Cooper as well. But very nice to see him get the send-off last night that he deserves at the club, and hopefully he can get the proper send-off by lifting a trophy at Wembley and seeing Leeds back into the Premier League before he sails off into the sunset. Moving on to two players that will be looking at their futures as well coming into this summer, and according to a piece in Leeds Life, Charlie Cresswell and Joe Gelhardt will consider their futures at the club should Leeds get promoted to the Premier League. Both players have struggled for game time this season. Cresswell and Farke appeared to have a bit of a falling out earlier this year after a social media post by his father seemed to affect the relationship between the two. And Joe Gelhardt has struggled with illness and fitness this season at key moments. He was expected to start at several games this year, especially in the Cup, was named by Daniel Farke as a player who was expected to start games and then didn't due to illnesses or injuries that he has picked up throughout the year. It's been a really unlucky season for Joe Gelhardt to try and get any kind of momentum and get a place in the Leeds United side. But now it says in this piece, should Leeds go up, a potential loan for both players would be the more logical option for both of them. Gives them a chance to find their form, find a stable club for a little bit, and keep them connected to Leeds should Leeds try and bring them back. However, Leeds are expecting a very busy summer with upwards of possibly 10 players leaving the club in the summer and a rebuild of sorts expected to take place. Leeds are likely to bring in reinforcements in the defensive areas, with Liam Cooper moving away. Just conversations around Joe Rodon's future, and Pascal Stroke's injury at the moment not clear whether he'll be ready for the start of the season just yet. Leeds will be bringing in more centre backs, and it could well leave Leeds in a situation where they move Charlie Cresswell on a permanent situation. In terms of Joe Gelhardt, Mateo Joseph has bypassed him in the pecking order, meaning it getting harder and harder for him to find game time. Leeds are also expected to bring in another number 9 during the summer, regardless of what division they're in, just to be a different level of number 9, but they're expected to bring another one in, which could see Gelhardt fall further down the pecking order, and a move away in the club is expected for him should Leeds get promoted. I think if Leeds stay in the Championship next season, you might see Mateo Joseph become the automatic number 9. It might leave some space then for Gelhardt as a second option, but he would need to find some serious form before then, and I think likely both of them will either see a loan or a permanent move away from the club next season. But I find it hard to see both players sitting on the bench again next season. And again, Daniel Farke has used pretty much the same amount of players this year from the bench, hasn't used the full bench, and Cressy and Gelhardt have been two players that haven't really been used throughout the season, so we'll have to keep an eye on what happens with their futures at the club. And then moving on finally to the last story today, and it involves Charlie Cresswell in game. You might have heard it, you may not have heard it, but last night before kick-off, Charlie Cresswell was involved in a collision with a police vehicle outside Ellen Road. The crash took place outside the West Stand ticket office when Charlie Cresswell's £60,000 Land Rover Defender crashed into a police car outside the ticket office. Cresswell was unhurt and was available for the team last night, but one police officer has received medical treatment for minor injuries received. Both vehicles, however, are labelled as having sustained serious damage. There's some pictures floating around of both of them are not in a good condition, but luckily there's only minor injuries. No details on what actually happened on this. It just seems to be an accident at the moment, so we'll wait and see if more information comes out on that. But Cresswell was on the bench last night and was involved in the team and seemed to be fine, so everyone seems okay, but strange incident that happened right before kickoff. But there you go. Anyway, folks, I will be back tonight about 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock with a preview, a matchday review of the game last night against Norwich. You check that out if you want to. If you don't, I'll be back Monday morning for more Leeds news. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you then. See ya. Bye.